This story is called Mambo Jumbo Really Crummy Suit to Compliment a Mommy. It was that time of year again where she began the arduous task of trying on a swimsuit. Each year she dreaded it more and more. She had to admit the choices of swimsuits available to a woman her size were always less than desirable. This year was no exception. Who could qualm her apprehension of being seen in an atrocious one-piece that resembled a monstrous gunny sack designed for moms who were built more like sumo wrestlers than models? How heinous were the distasteful patterns and deplorable prints! She was just certain that the manufacturers believed fat women had no taste. There were racks of them with extra repugnant layers of fabric designed to hold in folds of paunchy flesh. She knew she'd look abhorrent in the suits, but she tried them on anyway. One glance in the mirror was all it took to feel revolting in this display of obesity. It was no wonder sheer mortification set in. Standing there, she was humiliated by the reprehensible image that stared back at her. Was that really her? Who was that woman? There was no doubt about it. It was her, and she looked stout. She was rotund. To add insult to injury, she was convinced that the fluorescent lights made her look exceptionally ghostly and added on at least 10 extra pounds. Clearly, they did nothing to complement her lily-white skin and seemed to accentuate the cellulite on her thighs. If only she was tan, she thought, she might fare better. But nonetheless, the mirror did not lie. Panic-stricken by her image, she was shockingly appalled by the plethora of fat on her body. Embarrassed by her enormity, she trembled at the prospect of even being seen at all. She tried on a few more, but each seemed to go from bad to worse. Although the tags made some wonderful promises to detract attention from her hips and flatten her stomach, she was shocked at how contemptible she looked in spite of their failed attempts to minimize her flaws. Her pot belly stuck out like a sore thumb. Simply put, she was pudgy. She felt like 10 times more chubby than she had ever been. That's why this year she felt more self-conscious than ever and began to wonder how she would even begin to get over her hesitancy to go out in public. It seemed appropriate to want to shout out obscenities, to informally cuss and utter profanity at her image. But instead, the strangest thing happened. She began to emit inarticulate noises. It happened just like that. Instead of expressing scorn, she began to howl until she split aside. Every time she looked in the mirror, it started as a snicker and grew from there. She cackled with glee until she eventually broke out in a belly laugh. She wasn't sure where this mirth had come from, but every time she stared at her reflection, she seemed more and more amused. It was preposterous. She looked so silly and ridiculous. Right then and there, she knew she might be a laughingstock in her swimwear, but as far as she could figure, all she needed to do is wind up on a beach towel and then make it into the water, and she'd be safe at last. Alas, she no longer needed to feel melancholy or remorse. Laugh if you are wise, she giggled to herself. Ha ha, hee hee, for her head was the last thing you'd see. Mambo Jumbo Really Crummy Suit to Compliment a Mommy sung to the tune of Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. She was afraid to get off of her beach towel. Her new swimsuit was simply unkind. And I tell you, she really would rather sweat profusely than bear her behind. 2, 3, 4, tell the people what she wore. She wore a Mambo Jumbo Really Crummy Suit to Compliment a Mommy, with extra fabric designed to disguise. In much elastic, she's elastic, miracles should be fantastic, but in her swimsuit, she'll never attract guys. 2, 3, 4, stick around, we'll tell you more. If it hadn't been so effing hot out, then the beach is the last place she'd be. But she knows if she's deep in the water, then her head is the last thing you'll see. 2, 3, 4, tell the people what she wore. She wore a Mambo Jumbo Really Crummy Suit to compliment a mommy, with extra fabric designed to disguise. In much elastic, she's elastic, miracles should be fantastic, but in her swimsuit, she'll never attract guys. 2, 3, 4, stick around, we'll tell you more. So she's suing the swimsuit designer for the wonder it never produced. While the tag made a wonderful promise, from all angles she's simply obtuse. 2, 3, 4, tell the people what she wore. She wore a mumbo-jumbo really crummy suit to compliment a mommy, with extra fabric designed to disguise. In much elastic, she's elastic, miracles should be fantastic, but in her swimsuit she'll never attract guys. From the locker to the blanket, from the blanket to the shore, from the shore to the water. Guess there isn't any more.